Around the World with Christos
and Kathy. Good morning, Australia.
And good afternoon, Texas.
How are you?
Good evening, wherever you are in the world too.
How are you? How's everybody doing? We're really excited to bring you iridology around the world. This is just kind of a little brainstorm that Christos and I had, and so we're happy to present it to you today. So I guess we should tell you what it's about.
Yeah. What we want to do is really connect iridologists from all around the world.
Through any device that we can. So we've got some planned sessions that we're going to have, and we're going to have interviews with iridologists all around the world. And we're going to ask 3 simple questions. But before we get into all of that, we're going to interview each other today.
Great.
Why not?
So how about I start, Kathy? Kathy, how long have you been an iridologist?
Oh, wow. 25 years. 25 years. It seems like a long time, but then again, it seems like it was yesterday. I mean, really.
Yeah.
But I was a hairstylist before I became an iridologist. I did that for 22 years. And while I was learning iridology, so I incorporated it. So it's not that I've been working for like the last 47 years, because I would have been just a wee child. But I've devoted, I've had some crossover time. So 25 years total.
Yeah, great. And what was it that wanted you to become an iridologist?
You know what? To tell you the truth, I didn't have any aspirations of becoming an iridologist when I first heard about iridology, because I didn't really believe a lot about iridology. My mother and my sister went to see an iridologist, and they came back and they were really excited, and they were like, "You've got to go see this guy. He's fabulous. He's fabulous." And I was like, "Whoa, what is it?" Now, well, he looks in your eyes and he tells you about your body. And I was like, I don't really need anybody to look in my eyes and tell me about my body. I have a doctor, thank you. And they were, no, you don't get it. He's going to talk to you about your food. He's going to talk to you about, building up your body, strengthening your body, talk to you about emotions. And, and I was like, I don't need that. I'm fine where I am. The truth of it was, I was not fine where I was. I was really, really suffering with asthma, and I wasn't living healthy. But I wasn't at that time really willing to change either. So, I mean, I'm going to kind of cut this down as much as I can. It was about 3 or 4 years later, I was seeing a foot reflexologist, because I did believe in that. I was exposed to that in my younger years, and I saw how that worked with my dad, and it worked with me. So I was seeing a foot reflexologist, and so after she finished working on me, I just kind of sat down in her floor, because I had a friend, and so she decided to do another session with my friend. So I sat down on the floor, and she had a bookcase, and so I was looking at her books, and I said, "Could I pick up one of your books and read them?" "Oh yeah, sure." And there was a big blue book that said iridology down the spine. And I just reached for it. And so I opened it up, and I looked at her, and I remember saying, "Do you believe in this?" And she was like, "Oh, honey, wholeheartedly, totally." And I said, "Is there something to it?" And she said, "Absolutely." She said, "You can see so much about the body through the eyes." And as I opened up the book, written by Dr. Bernard Jensen, there was a big eyeball looking back at me. And I felt like at that very moment, I was so captivated by that picture. It was like a Alice in Wonderland moment. I was going through these wormholes, and my mind was going, and I was just focusing on that eye so much that I couldn't stop. I mean, I was like in I would say like a trance of some sort. And so I kept looking through the book. And so she said, "I have a friend that's going to be teaching an iridology class. Would you like to go?" And I was like, "I would love to go." And just a few short months before, I was like, no, I'm not going. So she said, why don't you go see my friend who's teaching the class? I said, I would love to. So I went to that class. It was about 4 hours long, and I was just introduced to iridology. And for the first 2 hours, I didn't understand a word she was saying. Just went over my head. Didn't understand it. So we broke and we
Wow.
went and we had lunch, and I came back. And after lunch, it was like everything she said, it hit. Boom, 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 boom. I got it.
Cool.
And I was like, I have got to find Dr. Bernard Jensen.
Excellent.
And so with a mission, I mean, I was hunting for that man. I was like a dog with a bone. I was hunting him, and I found out that he was going to be teaching a class in New Orleans for a week. And I drove to New Orleans, I flew to New Orleans, and I got into one of his last classes. He was well into his 80s by then.
Oh, that is awesome.
Mm-hmm. And his wife, bless her heart, she was wheeling him up to the stage. He was in a wheelchair. He'd been in a car wreck, and it was a very serious car wreck. And I can remember there was about 150 students in that class. And he stood up out of that wheelchair to speak at the podium. And I remember the first words he said, and I have never forgotten those words. But as he stood up, he looked out to the sea of people, and he said, I want you to remember this, that doctors make a living based on how you choose to live. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa. Those words have never left me. And that moment, I was totally changed. Totally changed. So it took 3, 4, 5 people to get me in that pathway of Dr. Jensen. It took my mother, my sister. It took my friend that was doing the foot reflexology on me, and then it took another lady to introduce me to iridology so that I would start that hunt.
Right.
So that's my story.
What a story.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was even then, and I didn't know the full scope that Dr. Jensen brought to the table. I just thought, you know, here he was. He's somebody that introduced iridology from other lands, other countries. He brought it here. I didn't understand that depth and that scope. And I had no idea the seed that was being planted that day. None. So I'm here.
Such
25
I love
years.
moments in time like that.
Yeah.
Moments in time like that are so important.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
Great.
That's how I got here.
And what would you say your favorite iridology sign in the iris is?
I really like behavioral iridology. I mean, I love all forms of iridology. Don't get me wrong. I love the sign that we can see at 6 o'clock, the 6 o'clock position relating to behavioral iridology, which would be perfection. And I love talking about perfection because you can tell when you're talking to someone if they identify with that, because it's all over their face. You know, they let you know, oh my gosh, I do have a problem with perfection, or yes, I am a perfectionist. And I have, both of my parents were perfectionists, and I have markings in both of my eyes in that position. So I identify with that perfectionism or that perfectionist person. But I really like how I kind of even came full circle with that, to understand there is no such thing as perfection. So once I think that I make that connection with my client and I help them to understand that, then you know, we've really we've opened up another channel. We're opening up another healing pathway. So I would say perfectionism is my favorite marking to see.
Awesome. It sounds like often with perfectionism, when people do it consciously, when you know they learn the sign and do it consciously and try not to be imperfect, try not to be perfect, they almost do imperfection in a perfect way.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfectly imperfect.
I love that. I love that. I love how you phrase that. But that is true. That is so true. And perfection only slows us down from our greatness.
Yeah.
We're not going to achieve that greatness if we sit on the perfection stool and refuse to move or refuse to do anything. So it's a big deal.
Perfection is a great way to procrastinate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathy.
Right. You're welcome. Now, you know what? I'm going to do an interview. I'm going to interview you. I'm going to ask you the same questions you just asked me. So how long have you been an iridologist?
So it was in 1994 that I started iridology, so 27 years. And I started, in that year, I started my natural therapies degree. And in the first year, we did a whole year of iridology. So we did it at the beginning of our degree. And that was great because it really got me so enthused about iridology. And I bought I saved for weeks to buy Bernard Jensen's textbooks because they were the cream of the crop. Like, they were amazing, the best pictures and so amazingly bound. And I just read cover to cover, almost slept with them, I think. And it was literally my favorite subject in first year in university when I did my naturopathy degree. And I was really so excited because we took photos of our own eyes. Like, it was hard. I mean, we had little torches that we looked at each other's eyes into class, but once a year there was this lady, and she used to come in with this, like, wheeling this machine in, and it was a Polaroid iris camera. And she put it on the table, and it was so clunky compared to what we got now. It was like another world. And she had these torches, and you put your face there, and out came this Polaroid little picture that was so. I mean, you can take better pictures with your phone just by with a selfie right now.
Absolutely.
But I was, from what I learned, I was so excited because I thought, I am going to straighten those fibers, and I'm going to get rid of those holes, and those pigments are going. And I did everything. I was a vegan. I wouldn't even wear leather or eat honey. I fasted. I was so idealistic. I really was. I fasted, and I did rice fast for 10 days, and I did juice fast, and I even thought good thoughts, like, I thought, you know what, those fibers are going. And the next year she came back, and I got my photo again, and I was so excited because I'd done all this stuff. Like, literally, I was the healthiest I'd ever been. Like, I hadn't had a headache or any tablets or anything for all that time. And I took the photo, and I put it next to the other one, and it was pretty much the same. I mean, some of the colorings were different. I think that was because the machine was a bit older, to be honest. But it was pretty much the same, and I was devastated. I was like,
right.
I really was. And at that time, I was also was married to a wonderful girl called Kylie, and she was sick at the time, and she was dying of brain tumors. So my whole career in naturopathy, or my whole study, kind of like took a bit of it took a backseat, if you like. And I took her to the iridologist who taught me, and told her a little bit about her eyes, but couldn't really see the cancer. I was like, "Can you see the cancer?" And I was just really, I guess in what I learned and in what I studied, iridology was like a long time ago, because I learned it in first year, and it took me 8 years to become an iridologist because of the whole life situation, etc. So when I actually started looking in people's eyes, when I actually started my clinic, I actually looked in people's eyes, but I didn't really do it properly. I kind of looked, and talked about the color a bit, but I didn't really get it. Yeah, I didn't really get it. So I didn't use it as much as I love it now.
Right. So is there any one person or one thing that inspired you to go into iridology? I mean,
absolutely. Well, the first thing was Bernard Jensen, of course, because of his amazing books and what we learned.
Yeah.
But when in 2002, I was in my clinic then, and I worked with another lady called Michelle Yanni, and she was Michelle Yanni at the time, and she was talking about this emotional iridology course that she was thinking of doing. And I thought, how could you possibly see emotions in the iris? But I was intrigued. I thought, you know what?
Right.
So I did it with her. So we went to Tony Miller. It was Tony Miller's class in Melbourne, and we went down there, and it was a 5-day course, and I was so excited. And it was actually her second level course. So normally she does physical iridology and then emotional iridology, and so I went into the emotional iridology part, which is the perfect way to start for me, I think, because that was the day that I fell in love with my eye. Because I told Tony Miller this story, and I told her that well, if we can't see change, what's the point? Like, what's the point in iridology? Right. And I didn't really get it. And she said, Christos, would you change your family? I said, no. She goes, do you love your family? I said, of course. She said, would you change them? I said, no, I love them. And she said, well, why would you want to change your eye? Because your eye represents your family, and it represents the 4 generations behind you. And it just, the penny clicked.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow, I love this. And since that day, I just wanted to learn more and more and more. And I really got how we can use the power of iridology to really, really help people be the best that they can be. Because I really felt like I understood myself and understood my family from that day. So really, the inspiration of the way I use iridology today was Tony Miller, and she brought me to IPA too.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember
that's a beautiful way to phrase that. Would you change your family?
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. It was that moment. I can still remember what I was wearing when she said it. Like, it was just like one of those moments in time that I will not forget. Right. And I did her course over and over. I think I did about 7 or 8 times, and I taught some of it. And then in 2011 was the first time she talked about IPA a lot, and I really wanted to come to IPA. I was like, so, and I also love coming to the States. So in 2011, my youngest kids were 3, so they were kind of getting a little bit older. So it was a good time for me to come. So I came to my first conference in Las Vegas, where I met all of you. I met you there, and I met Betty Sue, and I met Ellen. Like, I had Ellen's book, and I was so nervous about asking her to sign it for me. It was like, oh, I felt like I was meeting the Queen, but I did, and now she's one of my best friends. Like, she's just wonderful. I just love all of the people I've met. Have been a really special part of my journey.
Yeah,
in understanding my own eye.
Yeah, I remember meeting you, and I was like, I stole I was with my sister, and I said, I love him. Right. And she said, I love him too. And I said, well, you can't have him. She said, you can't either. Obviously, he's married. So that was, I'm going to share you this way. So, well, that cool. I love that. I love that, Tony got to you. She helped open your eyes a little bit more. That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. She has a great knack of picking the right phrase at the right time.
Yeah. Yep, she does. Yeah. Okay. Last question. What's your favorite sign?
Well, I think my favorite sign is the cardiorenal syndrome sign. Okay. So when we see a lacuna in the heart and the kidney area in the left eye.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I've got that sign, and it's very distinct. My brother and my dad have had lots of kidney issues. I've had kidney stones and things like that. The kidneys is my nurture point. I'm also a kidney lymphatic constitution, so water is really important. But I love the heart element because I've got that heart sign. And Tony Miller once said to me that when you've got that sign, I think it was also Edith, when you've got that sign, it often means that there is unspoken love, like you haven't been told I love you much. And that was definitely the case when I was a kid. I don't really remember growing up in Greece too much, apart from being, really shaken up about leaving my grandmother. And I'm sure she told me she loved me a lot, but I think my parents were almost too busy. And it just wasn't the done thing. So I'll probably overdo it now. I've probably told my kids I love them too much. Maybe, I don't think there can be too much, but I've got this real passion that we should show people love. Okay. We should, and especially kids. Yeah. And so that's one of my favorite signs, because it blends the heart, the love with the fear of the kidneys, and it can create something beautiful, I think.
Yes. I love hearing that. In this profession, when people find out what we do, they think that we're going to deliver a message of doom and gloom.
No.
And that's so far. I don't know who's out there doing that, delivering a message of doom and gloom through iridology, but I never intended to do that. I never intended to bring that message of gloom or illness and things like that. I want to show people the good. I want to talk to them about how to feel better. When you feel better, you do better. That's just one of life's little rules. When you feel better, you do better. So yeah. Okay. Well,
we just want to make people the best that they can be.
Yes. And sometimes we need a little push. We need a little guidance, like me, with me sticking my head in the sand for so long. My mother saw something there that I could not see. She knew I would love iridology, but I went through life like this and just refused to admit it till I was faced with it head on. And that was the Big Blue Book. And that's what I call that book, is the Big Blue Book. So we want to find out through our guests that we interview, how long they've been in iridology and how did they get there? Because I don't know about you, Chris, but every time I see a new client, that's the first thing they ask me. They don't ask me how long I've been doing this. That's usually the second question. They always say, how did you get involved in iridology? And then they say, well, how long's that been? You know? So I don't know. Do people ask you that a lot?
Absolutely, a lot, all the time in my clinic. And I told them the story about the eyes reflect their past generations, and whether they manifest the best case scenario or the worst case scenario depends on how they eat, drink, think, live, and love. I say that pretty much many times a day.
I do too.
Love it.
I do too. I've even put it in my textbook, and I give credit to Tony because that's where I heard that from, was from Tony. And it is, that statement is just as powerful to me as Dr. Jensen standing up and saying that doctors make a living based on how you choose to live.
Totally.
It just blows. It's just, you know, mind blowing. Well, you know what? That's what we intend to do with iridology around the world. We want to expose different people in different areas as to how long they've been doing this, and you know what got them into iridology in the first place. I think that's a very commonly asked question.
Absolutely. And we're going to have a lot of fun doing it.
We are going to have a lot of fun doing that, and part of that fun is a Q&A.
Okay.
We'll come up with a clever name later on, but today we're going to have iridology around the world Q&A. So what you need to do, Chris, I want you to pick a number between 1 and 36, because I have a little board here. I don't think we can see it. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. If you'll pick a number between 1 and 36, let's pull a question off that. You and I can take turns answering that, and we'll just see if it will pertain to anyone. So
how about 25?
25. Oh, I've got 25 right here. Cool. Oh boy. Well, this is about okay, well, this is kind of iridology related. It is iridology related. Okay, so my elderly father is developing blue-gray patches in his sclera. His medical doctor just gave him an ongoing script for oxygen. He has never had breathing difficulties before, nor was he ever a smoker. Is there anything I can do to help him with natural supplements?
Interesting. Well, I mean, obviously with blue-gray things in the sclera, or signs in the sclera, we're going to think of things like slowing down, like circulation not moving as much.
Right.
So my first thing would be to improve the circulation.
Okay. Would you suggest a supplement, or would you suggest some type of physical therapy or movement or something like that?
I think I would start really simple and look at his diet first and look at his lifestyle, because I mean, like these people need to move. You know, like moving is really important. Like, you know, whether they're able to move around, whether they're able to walk, whether they're able to do exercise, because we want the venous circulation to flow well.
Right.
So I'd probably start simple and look at diet and lifestyle first, but there's lots of other things that we can do depending on where the venous constriction is or the circulation is. Like we could use, I mean, I really love the herb ginkgo.
Yeah.
How about you, Kathy?
Well, you know what? I think I would focus on the supplement, just like you said, ginkgo. I know we have to be careful because that is blood thinning, so we'd have to ask those questions to make sure of the safety of that. Yeah. I think I would probably, though, kind of target the elderly on maybe like a liquid chlorophyll, because chlorophyll can oxygenate the blood.
Yeah.
So that's what I would really,
doctor.
yeah, I would focus on doing that. Maybe a little chlorella or chlorophyll. I think I'm going to lean towards the chlorophyll. I would look at, you know, is there anything going on in that lung area? It does, like diet related. We want to know if he's creating a lot of mucus, bringing, you know, that situation to the lungs. So I would go from there. And then I would also, like you, I would focus on circulation, and maybe, you know, we don't know the details behind this, but if he has difficulty walking, we would still want him to get movement. And I know massage therapy can you know, help create that blood flow, you know, so we would want to look at that aspect as well. So yeah.
And it might be different if they're a biliary mixed type, or if he's a lymphatic type.
Right.
But we want the lymph to move around. So, you know, as you were saying, like even moving, you know, moving your legs in the chair, and you know, if you're chair ridden, there's lots of things you can do to help your movement. Yeah,
simple hydration. Staying hydrated
absolutely.
will keep the oxygen moving within the body as well. So lots of things to consider when we're looking at an elderly person. But I think the blue-gray patches that we can see in the sclera are really an indication that the oxygen is not in the blood like it needs to be, that the blood could be a little on the thicker side. Maybe the oxygen's not getting to the head like we want it to, or it's not flowing further south down the legs.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why chlorophyll would be perfect for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do one more question?
Oh, all right.
Okay.
How about number 7?
Number 7. Let me see where number 7. That's a lucky number.
Yeah.
If you believe in that sort of thing. Let's see.
Well, I picked it because there's 7 in my family.
Oh, cool.
So I like 7. Yeah.
This is about behavioral iridology. Oh my gosh. This is so funny. My husband is a perfectionist. He has a lacuna. Did you plan that? He has a lacuna at 6 o'clock. I noticed he has a radial furrow at 12 o'clock. In behavioral iridology, what does this mean? Wow. Well, we know that 6 o'clock is where we see perfection, but at 12 o'clock is where we see stubborn.
Yeah.
Whoa. So I think when we see that stubborn marking at the 12 and we see the lacuna at the 6 o'clock position, that would generally indicate someone is going to have a little bit of a tougher time moving out of perfection.
Absolutely. And also tougher to live with as well. Probably
so. They could probably be very demanding, I would think.
And also for this lady who asked the question, it'd be hard for her to live up to his expectations.
That's true. That's true. So, you know, I know stubborn can be, it's like a double-edged sword. It could be good that we're stubborn in some cases because that could keep us out of harm's way.
Yeah. He could be really stubborn at getting his celery juice in every morning. Perfect. Perfectly imperfect.
That's right. That is right. Well, I think that's a pretty good answer. That he's going to have a little trouble from time to time, and so just continue to work with him and help him along and get him to an iridologist if you can. If you need that extra support, get him to an iridologist that believes in behavioral iridology or that knows behavioral iridology. You know, one of my things that I like to help people with are flower essences. I know you use flower essences and essential oils. And I think that when we're dealing with the behaviors, we can help people move through the negative side of that behavior and start to see a little bit more balance, you know, come back into play. Let's bring a little positivity into that. So that's what I like to do, or go to the flower essences and the essential oils. So there you go. Well, Chris, I've enjoyed this. This is fun.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. All right. Good day,
Thank
mate.
you. Good day.